You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the May 22nd meeting of the Michigan City Sanitary Board. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and want to call the meeting of the Michigan City Sanitary District Board of Commissioners for today, Wednesday, May 22nd, 4 p.m. to order. And we'll start off with doing roll call. Don Babcock? Here. Tim Warner? Here. Linda Simmons, present. We have a quorum. Next, we're going to move on with the approval of minutes. And we had 3 meetings, one regular meeting in April on the 24th, and 2 special meetings on May 2nd. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes? Can I call for a motion?
Move to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of April 24th, the executive session of Tuesday, May 2nd, and the special board meeting of Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Okay, so our next, let me sure I've got this all straight here. Our next order of business is the, where am I? Public comments, thank you, right here. Any public comments, please?
No one else wants to go?
Mike?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Michael Bergerson on behalf of Lakeshore Sewer LLC. Some of you may be getting tired of seeing me here at this meeting every month, but here I am back again for the 5th time seeking a decision from the general manager and ultimately possibly from this board, and get that review of our application completed so that we can move forward on the project that has previously been approved by the general manager at the time, and then subsequently certification to the Indiana Department of Environmental Management was filed. Then the objection was then withdrawn, and we got a permit from IDEM. We don't have a permit from the district. We certainly want the permit. It's a project, as you all know. It's going to be done at our expense. We want to connect 5 homes to the Michigan City Sanitary Sewer, and I can't imagine that 5 homes is going to create a huge or any problems with respect to any overflows or anything else. Honestly, these are part-time homes. One of them is, I think, full-time. The other is part-time. At the present time on Lakeshore Drive, they're using what's known euphemistically, I guess, as a pump and dump type of a tank. It's privately disposed of. But that's not a long-term solution. We know what the long-term solution is, and that is to connect these homes through their private sewer, which was originally approved and certified with the capacity of the district had the capacity to get that moving. And I'm here to ask you again. I've been on a lot of boards, or represented a lot of boards. You know, the job of a board is to make a decision. The job of a government is to make a decision. I don't care which one you make. I would like to have you guys approve our application. I don't care which one you make, but make one. Make one, and we'll move on one way or the other. But this can't go on. It's been going on since last year. It's time to make something happen. Thank you.
I have a couple items. Nothing bad. Just we preface it. So a couple of things. Mayor Angie Nelson Dyke, 126 Lady Lane. I know there are a couple of things that are before you. I know I just saw the scope of work that I think you may have gotten a copy of Did you give them all a copy of this? Did you?
I have it right here.
This scope of work, I know it's for the refuse department, but we have ARPA money from the city set aside for security. And so even if you approve it, what I recommend, I'm gonna recommend that you approve it and that you send it to, whatever to the board with? No, it's $6,000 for Andy. It's just Andy doing security cameras at the dump site. So basically, if you approve it, we'll pay for it out of the city's ARPA money, because we do have a line item for security versus it coming out of the sanitary district's account. So we'll pay for it through the city. So that's one item. The other item that's on here, I know that you'll get to it, is a human resource specialist on number 10 on your in your board packet. We're going to look to make that more of a salary position, so there's some more discussion that needs to happen for that particular item. And then I just wanted to make sure that I share with you the work that the controller's office and Karen and everybody has been doing to resolve some of the finance things that we've been working on. Our team's been working overtime at the controller's office to make sure we have all of our finances, all of our accounts payable, all those things caught up. And we also are working on the positions to post for accounts payable, accounts receivable. So that will be happening over the next several weeks. And I know that Chris will give a report and talk maybe a little bit about that. And then lastly, on the north end in sewer capacity, I don't know if I shared this at the last meeting, but we did submit a grant for the residential infrastructure grants through the Indiana Financing Authority to support that project. I'm hearing that we might hear something in the next couple of weeks. And if we do, voila, magic. Everybody's happy and we can move on with our lives. So hopefully we'll have something, but we did submit that prior to the deadline on Good Friday, I believe. So it was March 31st was due. Steve Stanford helped get that done. They came back with some additional questions, which made me feel like favorable about the project. I think it's a good project. I think our narrative is great, and so hopefully we'll have more information in the next couple of weeks related to the capacity project on the north side of Highway 12. Yes.
Thank you. May I ask questions or where we at?
Yeah, you can ask me questions.
Sir, when you say infrastructure grant and capacity, is it capacity in a pipe or capacity in the plant or what's capacity?
It's
Generally, I'm just
Lake Street.
Lake Street extension.
Yep, the Lake Street extension in particular, that's the one. And that one is really about, that probably is part of that. Part of some housing projects that we want to get done. But
Okay, so it's really the size of the pipe more than anything.
yeah,
Okay.
it is.
It's basically a relief sewer from what would be affecting this BNE manhole that's going, might be discharging, so we're picking up flow before then the Lake Ave and carrying it quicker to the plant, not having to go through that backlog area, so.
Okay, and when the client says that they have planning to fund it, how's that separate from this?
There's not because Jim can answer that question.
He's talking about funding their own, building their own sewer. In addition, they will be paying a proportionate share of the cost of this new system based on the capacity of their system that they're connecting to our system.
Okay, thank you.
And
I just wanted to get the general sense.
That's a standard operating procedure.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
We need to do something under the new business.
Okay, all right. Okay, moving on to safety with Dan McCoy. Is he here?
It's an informational report only.
Only, okay, got it, okay. And I saw that in there, I just thought we were gonna get handed out something today, so. Okay, so now we're going to, the financial, report, the staff accountant. Hi.
Okay, cash balances for the sanitary district operating fund, $1,375,806.61. The sanitary district tax levy fund is $1,511,905.95. The Indian Springs and Whippoorwill account is $5,059.52. The Carwick remediation fund is $221,168.29. The bond and interest account is $140,020.06. And the debt service reserve account is $539,866.05.
Any questions?
Oh, so we have $3,793,000 in the bank, so that's good.
Okay, that's our cash balance.
Round numbers.
Some numbers.
Round numbers, okay. we like
Yeah,
that.
we're taking
I think the
pocket
deeper question though goes back to what's in the budget and what's required to do what we want to do this year relative to those funds and whether, how quickly they're being depleted or not. And it's a revenue expense thing relative to what we're trying to get accomplished, so I'm assuming at some point I'll get a better feel for that.
Yes, that is the plan once, yes.
So right now, it's just accepting the financials as they are.
Yes, we're catching everything up still.
Okay.
We haven't, yeah,
Almost there.
we're almost there. We're getting closer as we speak.
So I move we accept the financial report.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second, all approved? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, thank you.
I do have a question. I'm gonna take personal privilege.
I think it's my oral privilege.
As far as projects, and I think we'll get a handle on that. For the last several months, we have not really been approving projects because of not knowing where we sit financially. There has not been a budget presented for 2024. And hopefully we get to that point. I know that our Controller Mary Lynn Wall has been working with her team to help get something prepared. We are just trying to make sure we have all past due payments, receivables, payments that we've received, that everything has been documented. What is the word? Reconciled before we do that. And trying to make sure we understand, and you'll see that you have historic engineering on the agenda too, but, well, we'll be on the agenda of the new business. But we want to make sure that we prioritize our projects, and I just want to be certain that our operations and the projects that we have, that we prioritize them based on emergencies, number one. And then number two, do we have the funding to keep just doing projects without knowing where we stand? And getting our hands around overtime and some other things and some standard operating procedures and just some policy items that we hadn't been following. I had a good meeting. I thought it was a good meeting. They may not have with some of the leaders in the plant, but just sharing with them, why we are at this juncture, why certain things are happening. Nothing against them, but really trying to understand if someone on the outside looking in saw the practices, there could be some, for me, it was eye-opening, and I just want them to know that, the employees to know that I'm here to make sure they get paid a fair wage without having to worry about overtime and other ways to be compensated. So I want us to be right-sized, and I want people to be paid what they should be paid. And if we're top-heavy, we're top-heavy. I don't shy away from saying what I need to say when it comes to being efficient. And I have no idea what projects we have. And I think it's important for the board to understand that this is gonna be a growing process over the next 6 months to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
So that's,
It was a good meeting, Mayor.
right, and to that point, that's why I asked the question. I mean, I'm accepting the board as presented, but I'm not necessarily approving the expenditures relative to the board because I don't know how they pair together.
Exactly. Yeah, so with that being said, some of these large expenditures, I'm in the weeds of it. So
So we're thinking we might have a budget proposal for 2024 in 2 months, 3 months? I
I don't
mean,
know.
I don't know, well, we're actually starting, the city's actually starting 2025.
right, no, I understand the delay. I'm trying to get
So we're trying to
to,
work with, we might try to, we need to take a look at 2024, but I think a lot of times your focus needs to be trying to get a basic budget for 2024, but really need to keep 2025 right there.
Yeah.
So,
But 2023, we can share 2023, but you just carried over.
oh, correct,
We can
yeah.
do that, because that's what we're operating on, except for not knowing really the project, so we can make sure we get that to you. Because at least that gives you the baseline.
yeah, I at least need to have some level of comfort relative to, again, revenues come in, but against expenses that are being charged, so.
Yeah.
Which we still could get a report
Yeah, we can
on
do
the
that.
budget, knowing that your 2020, your actual adopted budget is 2023, and that's what we do for the city, is we do for 2025. We roll 2024 and then we make the adjustments necessary.
Sure, but you have a document that says this is what's gonna happen, or this is our plan for 2025, and then you report on variances relative to plan, and then you continue with projects that you think are on budget, and some may get halted for a
That's
year,
not the
or
past
seek some other funds, I mean,
That's not the past practice for the sanitary district. So we encumber funds and create POs when we have projects, and then we encumber against them so that we know where we're at in the project. We're setting that, we have to establish that practice in the sanitary district. So that's kind of where we're at in doing that. We have to get there, but that hasn't been the past practice. So,
well, that's great, I think it's absolutely critical we do that, and particularly as being as a board member, to be part of the fiscal review body, if you will, relative to how are we operating or not. And sometimes ask the tough questions, other times it's give support for something new we want to do. So, thanks.
And I also comment too, I know at our last month's meeting, we went through some of this dialogue, and coming on as we just the last month and realizing that there are quite a bit of things that are being looked into with the new administration, and getting it to the point where they feel comfortable, but also bringing it to us to feel comfortable to share that information so that we can understand it better. So I feel good about what Mayor Angie is saying and what their plan is, along with the controller. And I think, let's give them a little time, because we've just been on board for a month. So that would be my recommendation. So
150 days for me.
150 days. Okay, we're gonna some other. So
9 days.
okay. So with that comment about the projects, does that also include what we're looking at with the laboratory building, or is that still as part of the agenda? We can move on with that, or is that all part of?
Safety issues.
Correct, we have to move forward.
We'd have to pass on? Okay, so I also have on here the future sewer conditions. That also falls under what we're discussing now. But, yes?
Steve, do you want to come up and talk about these items, 7A, B, and C?
Yeah.
Yes. There. Do I want to present the laboratory repair?
Yes, we need to move on that, I think.
To review for the two new board members, February 2022, the inside face of a concrete block of the wall fell in the laboratory office on top of a drop ceiling just like this one. It was a piece of concrete about that big and about that thick. Fortunately, it didn't fall through the ceiling. The drop ceiling caught it. But after we looked at it, what we found was that the top part of the wall is corroded, buckled, and swelling. Okay? So the immediate hazard is more masonry falling off inside or outside the building. And that really needs to be fixed, and we've been working with West Cheney engineers for close to a year, getting a solution for this done. At the last board meeting, we received bids from qualified contractors to effect the repair work. So item 7A is, 7A1 is the engineer's bid evaluation for the repair work. That project got us seven different bids from 7 different contractors. And Larson Danielson of LaPorte was the low bidder. And according to our engineer, they were the lowest responsive and responsible bid. Right? And their bid was in the amount of $306,719. So that part of it is informational. That's the item 7A, double I. I prepared a notice of award if it's the board's pleasure to award the contract to Larson Danielson.
So since I don't have much background on this, the way you describe the failure makes me a little nervous relative to the masonry work. And I'm assuming that as part of the engineering analysis is that in part the reason the wall failed was probably because of some pressure against the wall. Is that correct? Or did it just collapse? And the buckling and everything must have come from some
It
force.
was freeze-thaw.
Moisture.
It was freeze-thaw cycles. We had-
Moisture.
Oh, okay.
The roof membrane didn't go all the way up under the coping of the wall. When the roof was done, water was running from the coping down behind the membrane for years and years, and every year it's getting more and more damage. And it finally
So the point is, it's an engineered solution which should correct it rather than just put a pretty face on it, right?
No, it should restore the building to structural integrity for the,
Okay,
indefinitely.
thank you. I assume that, just wanted to clarify. $307,000.
306. We need a motion for us to ask the general manager to approve the award, correct, Steve?
Well, the board needs
We
to.
need to vote to approve the award and
On his
allow
recommendation.
the general manager to issue the notice of award, which is automatic after you make the award.
So moved.
I will second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Okay, Steve.
All right, Chris, sign the thing.
Call them right away.
So we can get moving, okay.
We go through another winter like that.
Okay, so for the, once again, this is the sewer connections, and that's what we just voted on, right, moving forward, no?
We just voted on the lab.
The laboratory, I'm sorry, okay. So now moving to the
Future sewer.
future sewer connections, for, this is on US Highway 12.
Yes, our situation here to review for the new board members. We have a single sewer that's named the B&E sewer because it flows through their property. That handles all of the sewage from Sheridan Beach, Washington Park, the water department, the zoo, and everything north of Highway 12 and west of Moore Road. That's connected with our system. And what we are seeing in that sewer line is that when we get heavy rain events and infiltration and inflow, we have a manhole that we monitor 24/7. It's electronic. I could call it up on my telephone to see if it's in an alarm condition or not. And what we found in 2022, there were 2 surcharge events. They were in July and August. And then in the year 2023, there was 1 surcharge event, July 29th, 2023. And I looked at the amounts of rain that we recorded with our weather stations and compared it with the NOAA charts for frequency of recurrence. One of the storms in 2022 was a 2 to 3 year recurrence. One was a 1 year recurrence. And the one in July, which was actually 4 inches in about 5 hours of last year, that was a 5 year type recurrence type storm. The fact that the manhole is surcharged doesn't mean it's necessarily, the overflow is imminent. It's a large hydraulic system that's very complicated. It's very difficult to calculate what storm event it would take to cause it to overflow. I don't know if anybody could calculate whether a 10-year storm would be needed or a 25-year storm would be sufficient to cause it to overflow. We do know that we can make it through a 5-year event, the way things stand right now. All of that being said, I'm optimistic as the mayor is that we're going to obtain funding for the Lake Avenue Highway 12 relief sewer. Meanwhile, we have folks that want to build houses in Michigan City north of Highway 12, and we have this consortium of folks in Long Beach that want to connect. My recommendation as staff to the Board of Commissioners is that we focus remaining capacity toward applicants who are going to be like-kind exchanges. Somebody who's taken down one facility and substituting some others in its place, for example. And then, as far as new connections go, I think we should enforce to be sure that they're meeting all of the current building codes that folks that build in Michigan City today have to meet in terms of water flow capacities on things like toilets and laboratories and showers and that sort of thing.
Okay. You want to bring them up to date on the project that the engineers are working on?
Yes, the redevelopment kindly funded State Great Lakes to do an engineering project to design the Highway 12 Lake Avenue relief sewer for us. I recall that the authorized fee on that was $316,000, if I'm not mistaken. They've been working on that contract for 2 months now. They've done the aerial survey work and the ground survey work, and they are in design. And I'm expecting by the next board meeting we'll have a solid report about what they're coming up with in terms of probable construction cost to build it.
So this is sanitary sewer, and you started the conversation with influx from rain?
Yeah.
Okay, it's coming in from somewhere, right?
We have folks with some folks still have downspout connections. Most of those have been severed. We have folks in low-lying areas that have sump pumps, nowhere else to discharge it.
So is there a code enforcement piece to this somewhere, or not?
We do not have a code that the sewer use ordinance doesn't forbid somebody connecting their,
No, that's not true. The sewer use ordinance, as does federal and state law, prohibits putting clear water into a sanitary sewer.
I haven't seen it in our sewer use ordinance, but I mean, it could be federal and state law. Okay.
I hope that's part of the review process here someplace, is there?
Yes,
I mean, because, you know, like, when I hear, you know, okay, we're looking at, you know, 1 year routine storms to 5-year storms, and then, okay, and then the sanitary sewer is compromised because of the storm. I'm assuming that, you know, we're spending $300,000 on the design, that the actual solution is gonna be pretty expensive. So, 6, 7, whatever the number is, $1 million. It would seem to me that if we don't have an ordinance in place to enforce, we should consider putting one in place, and then also figuring out how actually is it enforced. I mean, is that a door-to-door thing, or we wait till the storm event and we're checking, you know, sewers and gutters and sump pumps? I mean, that's big money. I mean, to me sitting here, I mean.
I can tell you this, Commissioner, that our system is 93% separated, so 7% of our system is combined. And what we've done to mitigate backups in the remaining combined neighborhoods is to restrict the flow from the stormwater inlets. So
In the street.
it's a voluntary choice to allow the street to hold the water instead of letting it back up into folks' basements.
I hope we keep it in the street instead of the basement. I'm gonna be on that record on that side of things here.
Right.
Yeah, we don't want to store the stormwater in the basements.
No.
So we are separated, but we do have I&I. You know, parts of our system go back to the 19th century.
I have some feel for that. I'm just suggesting the purpose discussion needs to be part of the solution, that's all.
Creative thinking, forward thinking, proactiveness on it.
The city engineers,
Not,
your fellow commissioner and city engineer and I were just discussing that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see the district start doing a serious I&I study to find out where this problem is coming from, so.
I mean, to me, that's worth, okay, we spent $300,000 on an engineering study, that's worth some serious money relative to getting that piece of it done also.
Okay.
So let's start finding out where we got our leaks.
Yes, sir. Anything further on that topic?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't hear a time frame relative to design, then I guess it'll fall in our probably 2025 plan relative to whether we allocate some capital in some way or try to determine some capital to do a project, right?
So I can tell you that the amount that we applied for was about 4.8 million for this project. Through the and with the support of the redevelopment commission. This is a low interest loan over, it's a new program that the state had implemented, and the deadline, they need to spend the money soon, which is a good thing, because it was $75 million available from the state for this, and 15 projects were submitted, of which 3 were Michigan City projects. And a total of $90 million was requested. So we did have an interaction with them after the fact. They came back for more information for this project. So as far as a priority, we did set this as one of our priority projects. Since it sounds like they want to give us something, we knew that this one is top of mind, because not only do we have someone who wants to connect, we have homes, additional homes that need to connect. So I understand you coming each month, but I will tell you, from me to you, is that we're working on some solution and figuring out how to fund it and get it done sooner than later. And that's why the redevelopment commission paid for the engineering piece of it and agreed to do that. So hopefully we'll have that back. And by the time we get that back, we'll know if we have the money for the construction. So, I don't know what
It's
else
hard
I
to
can tell
imagine
you.
that construction in the northern part of the most valuable, it's some of the most valuable property in this community cannot be developed because of a sewer that is not sized to take the
Expansion.
You won't get me to argue with them.
You know, I just can't believe it.
All I'm saying is we're not in the courts. So thank you for your dramatics a little bit.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is I've only been here this much time and we're trying to find a solution because we have multiple things that we're trying to address at the same time. And I'm hoping that we have some answers for you by the next meeting.
So, and related to that, Steve, on the engineering piece of it, since it sounds like might need 6 or 7 million, you got 4.8. I mean, is there any phase potential for this to split the project, or is it just one pipe that we have to do the whole thing at once? I mean, that would be an engineering question to be considered as they look at it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we pretty much have to do the whole system to get it to function right. We're doing the lift station on the north side of 12, then the force main all the way back to
Okay.
south of Trout Creek to get
Just
close to
asking
the
the
plant.
general questions.
You're also putting in the water from the north to that pump station by another sewer, which theoretically could be a phase, but it's a relatively small portion. What's the estimated time for the engineer to complete the design?
I didn't look at the contract before this meeting. I would estimate it's gonna be done in the next 60 days.
Couple months, that's right, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I thought that,
Yeah, because I asked the question initially, I forgot about it. Thank you.
well, the plan was anyway to try to get it constructed this
This
year.
year.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
I like it.
Steve, do we have, the district have flow monitoring devices that we can check the INI changes, or do we have to hire somebody to do that?
We have 3 functioning flow meters that can be deployed in a manhole. They work pretty well.
Let's start doing that in the Sheridan Beach area every storm and see what our flow rate increases, so we can start pinpointing where we might have INI problems.
And we also have our lift station pumping records, which is useful in that respect.
That gives you the overall area, but we need to find out what street the problem is on if there's one, so. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, next time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Next item I got on the agenda here for projects is an invoice from Qmation. These people support our SCADA system that we use to operate the wastewater treatment plant. And the annual subscription cost for the support is $27,000. The contract period would begin July 1st, 2024, and it would extend through June 30th, 2025. Again, at the cost of $27,000, $27,183. I would recommend that the board approve this.
How long have we been using this wonderful software with Qmation?
I've been here almost 7 years. We've been using it that long, Jordan and Mike. In our SCADA system and operations. How long have we had that? Been using that?
Right, 10 years.
Very vital piece of equipment we need to monitor on a regular daily basis.
I mean, for example, it allows me to call up the plant on my computer so I can see what it's done and what it's doing at the moment. And that.
Given that it sounds like a necessary expense, so
Yeah,
I recommend they authorize it.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passed. Okay.
So that concludes my bid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Attorney James Meyer and Associates. And you have, bill for professional services, the Michigan City Sanitary District invoice 195. Any,
So do we get a recommendation from somebody for this, or do we just arbitrarily?
I think we need a recommendation from somebody.
Sharon,
I recommend that we do proceed with paying it in full. It's been documented, he has all his hours documented, they'll split your packets also.
Yeah.
It's been-
I'm
Yes,
just always looking for reasonable operating place to tell me whether or not it's legit.
Sure.
That's all.
Yes, it was put in your packets for that reason, so that I can only approve up to 10,000, so.
Oh, I get you.
above that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Recommend that approval also.
I will second.
have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
They don't spend it all in one place.
I need to spend.
You spend it here, but not all in one place.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Harris Law Firm. In our packet was a letter of interest of the Michigan City Sanitary District for attorney. Anyone?
I forward my recommendation to proceed forward with the Harris Law Firm.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve Harris Law Firm for the recommendation.
Second, we've got a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
I assume it's not an issue, but under the rules, the Corporation Council, Amber has to approve the hiring of the attorney.
That was the point we chatted about, yes. So do we have that recommendation? I'm assuming we do. I just assumed.
I just want to-
They never assume, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's truly vetted, yes.
Are we still in discussion on this, just to make sure I understand?
Yeah.
Are the rates similar to what we were paying our previous office?
I didn't see the
So it's a deal. Is that the point?
It's the mayor.
All right. Comparable. Thank you.
Okay, so then, so we viewed the contract for the employment of the attorney. And we can move on from there.
Okay. Item 10.
Okay, human resource specialist, payroll administration, administrative, yeah.
I will move to table this to our next meeting.
Okay,
Thank you. I'll have more information at that time.
okay.
Call for a second, please table.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to table till the next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay.
As well as job description and so on, all of that together. Okay, all right. So then we have the Michigan City Sanitary District monthly reports.
You'll see all those in your packet, those are, is for your reading.
Yes, okay, for our review.
So all of that. I reviewed them all, but again, commending everybody that did submit their reports, and it kind of just shows the flow that's occurring here at the district for that last month period, all the call-outs, the reasoning, the emergencies, et cetera. So they're all very intense reports. I'm learning it all myself too. So right now, everything looks in order, but my experience with when I was on the board reviewing these reports, it's very adequate.
Okay,
Yeah, they do cover pretty thoroughly.
yes, I saw that.
Yes,
I
they
saw
do.
that.
But nothing unusual. Severe accidents or overflows or nothing unusual in the reports that I saw.
I didn't see
Correct.
anything.
Correct.
Okay,
And it goes hand in hand with that safety report that Dan
yeah,
files earlier into the meeting.
okay,
Thank you.
got it, okay. Okay, so, so does this include number 12 with this, or?
Now, number 12.
Well, that's a separate issue.
Okay, all right, so then we're gonna approve and allow revenue in a levy claims for payment.
Karen, do you want to go over this for us, or?
I'm sorry, I wasn't even listening.
The claims docket?
Okay. These are what we have paid over the past month since the last board meeting. These are the payments that we made for EFTs and the checks that we paid. And the dockets is the total for the amounts paid that we received. Section. But it all ties together. So the operation payments register ties to the docket amount, and the same thing applies for the tax levy as well.
Hoosier Equipment LLC, 48,500. What is that like, curve? Do you know?
Hoosier Equipment.
Unless it's a rental or something.
Karen, is that what the rec is?
Can you just let the board know at the next meeting what that is, okay?
That would be great.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
I have to say, that could be that truck that was repaired by Hoosier Equipment, the refuse department.
Correct.
Oh,
You're probably right.
Okay, thanks.
The one over there.
And maybe.
Josh, our fleet officer, he kind of gives us more information
I
here,
was
so.
gonna say, maybe the departments could kind of share a little bit more as you guys have questions. You probably should put in a little bit more detail on some of these, just that.
We just have one line item, just says description.
Yep.
At just a high level, these all answer some question like that. And on a related but unrelated kind of thing is, I'm assuming these are interdepartmental fees for working at. So for example, we've got a couple of $12,000 bills here from Waterworks, and then there's $5,000 from the Park Department, Service Center. So are those, we compensate each other within different departments for when we use their stuff, or is that?
Well, the city, on the city piece, they do pay, there are some interactions between the park department. I would say that for some of the larger ones, you should get a copy of the invoice.
itself.
I know we do that for the city council and some of the board of works items. And for some of the larger ones, I think we probably should. But I've asked, before.
The 5,000 is Trail Creek Week.
Yeah.
Shannon organizes all that, and the sanitary district pay for part of the contributions to Trail Creek Week, but it all handled by the park department, so that's what that $5,000 check is.
I got you. Thank you.
Yeah.
But also I've asked Karen to start prioritizing like what our operational costs are, and kind of bucketing, putting them in a bucket, so that you'll be able to see, okay, these are gonna be your regular monthly things that you're gonna see, versus like our insurance payment for the, that's a large amount, but that's how much we pay each year. Well, we need to make sure we know every year in June or every year in May, or whatever year it is, whatever month it is, so we kind of track so that you'll know, oh, these are all normal AT&T, Comcast, this, those are our regular things, and almost like a consent
Right.
list.
I'm sure, right, yeah.
And so I did request that you start thinking through that and put together a priority list of just our operational costs, so that we know what they are, number one. Because right now, we're paying, a lot of things that we're paying in arrears.
Right, so I assume the Woodruff one for $226,000 is a.
I'm sure we can.
Multiple repairs, I would
Be very
imagine.
slow in submitting invoicing.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
And that's
one
a-
thing, too, so.
Yeah, and
I mean, I know he said some January ones just recently, so.
right, so with the invoicing, I think even in our contracts, we just need to think about, with our vendors, that if you don't give us your invoicing within 45 days, because it hinders our.
Well, as soon as you're ready for it, yeah.
It hinders your ability to know what's what.
Monthly budgets.
And I know we paid an invoice in January for 2022 work this year. And yeah, so we just need to make sure that we stay on top of our vendors. But once we start encumbering the money and putting POs in and things like that, we'll have a better, hey, this project was completed, but we haven't received an invoice. You know,
We're really not planning and operating this. Seems to be like almost a cash basis versus a accrual basis. So it's hard to tell where you're at on the project.
Yeah.
For example, I know you're new to the board, but in October of last year is when Charlie Keene from General Insurance proposed he came in and proposed everything to us in solid numbers. It's just the bill came in now. So we've already addressed it as a board.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Are you looking for approval of this?
We need to move to approve the.
Given the encouragement here, I recommend we pay these bills.
I will second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Pay the bills. Okay, so now we're at old business. Any old business?
Yeah, I think the 5 homes in Palm Beach is old business. What I'd like to do is try to get our decision made at the next board meeting. So if we could get that on the agenda for the next meeting to discuss approval or denial of that. Okay, because we should know by then, hopefully, that we got the what was it? The tip?
Residential.
Reading is fundamental.
I'd also like to bring up at that point that I've invited Haas and Associates to present to you more information on the annexation process, their billing, their requests for more additional monies. Jeff, would that be you?
Yeah, that'd be me. I'm Jeff.
Right.
I'm with Haas and Associates, a former city engineer, a former county engineer, used to work for NDOT. I wanted to do a little, very, very short presentation so that you kind of understood the project, at least overall, for the annexed area. And I have some handouts that might be useful. And sitting back here listening to the meeting, I'm kind of glad we're doing this because there were some questions brought up on some of the other projects going on, and there's, maybe moving forward we do this at the outset, of each project. One of the biggest gripes, or not gripes, but concerns that I heard over a period of time kind of comes from the council as well. And we were thinking maybe, getting before the council, maybe kind of giving them a little update, right? So that, with mayor's approval and all that kind of thing, we would do that. Folks should be in the know. You know what I mean? Folks should be in the know. So, just a brief history is we kicked this project off late fall. Last year, we've had a number of meetings with city representatives, sanitary, planning, EDC, water, and the project, just overall, to the north up here is the Millennium Business Park. And I don't know the year, but the city annexed something on the order of 230 acres, is the way I remember it by order.
For Millennium?
No, for the whole.
For the new annexation area.
For the new annexed area,
I think it started in 2017.
2017.
You got approved in 2019, right?
So that area was annexed, and I understand that once an area gets annexed, it needs to be brought up to utilities commensurate with the rest of the town. So that's really kind of the purpose of the project. The sanitary sewer starts up here just north of the Millennium Business Park, and runs southerly parallel to the Swan Lake Cemetery. When we get down to the south side of the cemetery property line, where we go easterly and cross under US 20. And then the original proposal was to run north up to the railroad and then south down to Autumn Creek. That's kind of the overall of the sanitary. The water overall would connect up here near the, just near the airport, and then run along the Highway 20 right-of-way line and come down here to just past Autumn, this is Autumn Creek down here, it used to be a trailer park, and then run past there and then cross under 20. So that was kind of the kickoff meeting and kind of the goal and the scope that was set back in the, in the fall, and so we started progressing, that way. And as the plans kind of developed, we discovered that there were some wetlands out there that need to get mitigated. It's not a huge amount of wetlands, but they're there. And subsequent even to that, the mayor had some input that we needed to maybe scale back the scope a little bit to try to rein in the budget a little bit. And so that kind of, that took a little bit of time to prepare enough information to have her acquainted with all of the information that she needed to make a decision. And as part of that, the final situation for the sanitary is coming along, just like I described, along the cemetery across the south property line, cross over US 20, and then that's kind of what we would call the base bid, and then we would add an alternate to run it from where we cross over to get down here to pick up, Autumn Park. And so that's the sanitary. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now as the water department evaluates with the city engineer and mayor on what actually the water main project would end up being. The original proposal I described, there's a couple of other proposals that they're currently studying, right now, and we're just kind of waiting on a decision.
Yeah, and I can add to that. So, step back, the council approved 3 buckets of money to equate to $7.5 million on rainy day, Riverboat, and ARPA. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, we did not encumber $2.5 million from the Riverboat. I know there was some back and forth about monies. The council was very adamant that last year's council that I was on is that this was dragging along for the last 4 years. And we wanted to collectively pull back some of the money. Well, so happened, lo and behold, it ended up being that way anyway. So I met we sat down, we all got in the room together, we met, and what I pushed out to the group is that we need to meet our legal obligation, and that's it. We need to meet it. If there are no developers that are on board to develop the land, there's no need for us to move forward further than our legal obligation. We may say there's a few wetlands, but in my eyes, it looked like a lot. There were a lot of wetlands. And the first initial proposal was based on high utilization of all of the property. And there's a significant amount of wetlands, in my opinion. So I asked them to go back, because I know they have to deal with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to figure out what that is. And I don't want the city to be on the hook for any of that. So I said, you have $5 million to get this to meet our obligation. And they did meet with the owners, and I think they understand that. It's just that if the bids come in lower, we'll move forward and do more than, whatever we can do for the $5 million is what we'll do. I think the reason why we're asking about billing, and I'm I'm just gonna say, I'm probably very, I need more information in most cases when I see bills like this because, you know, there are only so many hours in a month, and to see 260 hours in a month for, you know, a senior engineer, I'm like, well, there's only 160 hours in the 4 weeks in the month. So, I'm just trying to understand. So, I don't know what you do with all the invoices, but we want to make sure that I've given them to Tim, Smith. I'm sorry. Tim is our former board chair. Tim Warner, our city engineer, to kind of evaluate as well, because the project, I did, slow down the project, but like I shared with them, what's one month compared to 4 years that has been slowed down? So I want us to do what's right, meet our obligation, make sure we're fiscally responsible about how we spend the money. And water department, we've already met with them. I think they have a solution. I ran into Chris Johnson, we talked about it a little bit, and I think we'll come in under 5 million. So I'm confident in that. We were given 3 solutions, and I thank our team for powwowing and coming up to 3 solutions to get those priced out. So we did take a step back to get this done and to get some new numbers. So I don't know what, we just wanted to update for you to have that for the next board meeting. I don't think we're trying to ask for any board action, but I did want an update so that you kind of know what's going on with that property. But in my opinion, there's a significant amount of wetlands compared to what was initially utilized in the numbers with Baker Tilly and those.
Yeah, in essence, you're trying to find out how many acres are really developable, and they have the airport extension impact at some level here also, right?
Correct.
So, and my deeper question, whether, I'm not sure you're ready for questions yet or not.
I can, but I would say that in terms of the wetlands, there's little, I don't know the exact number, it's about an acre, maybe a little bit more.
Well, that's where the sewer is going.
Correct.
It's a lot more what the mayor is talking about, the physical property in general.
Correct.
You're not gonna develop on the sewer, you're gonna develop on the rest of the property.
Correct.
And if there's a lot of wetlands on that, what the mayor's pointing out is you may not wanna be spending any more than absolutely necessary to get the sewer there because.
Does the obligation come from the developable acreage?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so instead of having 300 acres developable and you got 150.
We're losing 10% at least for wetland, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
So we threw some rough numbers at that, and at a 50% build out, you're looking at something like an 18-year payback. Just, I'm working without a net here, but it was something in that ballpark at about 50% build out. At 100, of course, at 100% build out, it's a lot less. You know, extrapolate from that. So.
My related question, but it's maybe outside the purview of this group, that it does impact us since we're spending some money, is I'm assuming at some point this area is going to be TIFed if it's not already. And
We TIFed it already.
And will there be an obligation at some level to, I don't know if you could set up something to pay us back for some of the extension, or the city back, or I don't know how that works or not, or can work. I mean, it's just.
My whole thought was if it came in way more than the 5 million, we would have to make a decision, but ARPA money has to be obligated and spent anyway. I think this is a good.
I'm not anti.
Right.
I'm just trying to figure out.
But I just think that I don't want to go. I want to meet our minimum obligation because I know that we need to get across Highway 20. And I think that creates an opportunity in the future. There's just, right now, there's nobody on the table for us to do anything additional without knowing how much of that property can be developed.
Yeah.
And the numbers that if they come back and say 150 of the, half, then they need to run the numbers again. You know, if it's up to me, we would wait that long, but I'm like, no, we know we need it.
Yeah.
So we need to do it.
I was always
But not at 7.5 million. Five.
So that brings us to this page. That's the basic, this was given to the mayor and her team to review. What it includes is the cost of the original proposal of the full-length water line. We don't have the three options available to us in order to, but as soon as we have that, we'll update, we'll get this into, everybody's hands. But at the bottom line, given the adjustment to the sanitary that was made, which, and including the full water line project, we're about 5.2, the big red number in the bottom. That's roughly the 5.2 number. And so, and that includes a 30% contingency. So we're highly confident we're going to come in, it would come in, at least given that project, it would come in under. But once we see these other ones, that, if they're smaller in scope, we can guarantee it comes in, less than 5 million. So at that point, I guess I would entertain any kind of softball questions you have. I don't know budgets and line items, and as far as the hours go, there's three of us. This is a big job. There's three of us working on this job. So
Can you submit, instead of just a round number, a detailed, you've done this before, not maybe you personally, but hasn't done this before, a spreadsheet showing, for the different categories of employees, the number of hours, and their hourly rate, and what they're gonna be in different phases,
we can get that to you, absolutely.
That way the board can see how.
I understood
how
that
you're
was
writing out the
operating
number.
anyway. So.
And Jeff, this is one thing I told you before, that here, I'm looking at the hours that were submitted on Ryan's time, 2.87 hours. That's 2 hours, 52 minutes and 12 seconds. How is he doing 12 seconds of work that we're supposed to pay for? And I keep going down the list, 4 hours, 60 minutes, 48 seconds, 5 hours, 45 minutes, 36 seconds, based on his 1.57, 1.03, 5.76 hours. I know that's not what he's doing. I want to see the timesheets from him if that's what he's doing.
Yes.
So we use Teamworks.
None of the rest of you are doing it? It's all quarter hours.
He sets a timer in Teamworks, and Teamworks records his bucket of money. But we'll get it
Yes, please.
lined up.
Because that has been one of my pet peeves, with the billing that I've been seeing this year.
Mine previous.
And yes, and we just want to make sure, I like detailed billing for invoices that big. We should see what we're being charged for. I know this is a big job, but we've been dealing with this for a while.
I mean, Jim doesn't even sit there, hit the time clock for 12 seconds. Come on.
All I can say is you need to meet Ryan.
That would be helpful.
That's what I would say, you need to meet Ryan.
But it would be helpful if they did
Well,
that.
fine, whatever he does on his own is fine, but don't charge us by 5.76 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5.75, I can live with.
okay.
It's supposed to be in quarter hour.
I was gonna say, the contract I read said quarter hour, so I mean, whatever.
Yes.
So we round down then?
And that's what I was thinking, that's what I was gonna do with all these numbers, I'll round down on everything.
Maybe out of spite, that's what you do.
May I request then that, because all these three bills for the last 3 months have come in, that are all due, that we table this until that you have a chance to read all this as the engineer had. That would be my
In more
recommendation.
detail, yeah.
Yes, much more detail. But not from Ryan, he gave him way too much detail.
And also, I'll just say, and I hate to be, I'm trying not to be petty. I try my best. But even when we have our meetings and we're being billed for our meetings, I don't need 5 people from one organization at a meeting and being billed for it when there's only one true person with authority there that's responsible for making the decisions. They can go back to their team and bring us the recommendation. It seems like a lot. I'm about the city's money. I'm trying to still find money, but I'm also trying to make sure we're just not spending money for the sake of spending it because it's a project. So I just want to be I want everybody to be cognizant of that, when we have these meetings. So,
Do we have, does the board have any questions, at least in terms of the scope of the project overall? If not,
Right now, your cost is just coming across 20 and stopping as soon as you get onto the property, right?
base bid.
Okay, thank you.
Well, they're gonna bid as an alternative, the extension.
Just to run down to the old trailer park property down there.
Correct.
Thank you.
If I may, I have another little project here that I wanted to just put it before you real quick. This is, to Carroll Avenue.
Oh, okay.
Carroll, does Mayor need one? I have to have one. This is Carroll Avenue near the intersection of Michigan Boulevard and Carroll Avenue, and that's would be the southeast quadrant of that intersection. And along Carroll Avenue, there's 4 houses here that are on septic systems, and I think it was kind of discussed at the last regular monthly meeting, so you might have heard that before, that it's odd to have houses on septic systems in the city limits. And so this project is geared towards remedying that.
Does this pick up the veterinary hospital there too?
Correct, yes. And
I don't see,
it's
the
over,
lines are getting too old.
it's over here. This is the vet over here in this corner.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
About 3/4 of the way over
There's
at the
man
top of
right
the
behind it.
graphic.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's like a empty building there, and then there's the pawn shop. And so the pawn shop will be picked up as well. There's a pumping situation there that, you know, that will get picked up and brought down. For lack of a better term, the marching orders were to put a very small lift station right here. See this black dot? Put a small package. We don't need a big lift station to handle this, the kind of flows that we'll be getting from 4 houses. And so a small lift station there, and tie it in over here near Lafayette, LaSalle Street, I guess that's LaSalle, not Lafayette, but tie it into the manhole there. And so, and this is the big gray area coming across, like the diagonal of that's Cheney Run. I mean, that might help orient.
It's a very large underground storm sewer.
96, it's 96, yeah. And so that will help orient you, but it's right there. And I did bring some cost information with that as well. For all of the, you know, clearing the right of way, and you can go through this, I won't go through it in detail, but the bottom line is, you know, $885, you know, right there. So, and that includes 20, at this point, 20% contingent. And the reason there's a difference is because these plans are a little more highly developed than the annex property. So we use a little bit higher percentage to cover some of the unknowns. This project is really highly developed, and we expect to be able to come to the board maybe next meeting and ask for the okay to put it out to bid. That's kind of where we're at. But you guys, you know, the discussion, we don't set the priorities on your jobs. You tell us which ones to design.
Right now, it's informational only because it's not yet on the agenda, so the information only at this point.
Yes, at this point, everything thus far is basically just information, trying to get you acquainted with the projects. And if there's any questions on that one, I would try to answer them.
Also, I mean, just in the broadest sense, and just convincing this for a second, I mean, 800, 900,000, something like that. looking up half a dozen homes. I mean, that's a lot per home kind of thing. But obviously it appears like a long-term missed obligation, I assume, at least in part. But going back to the project, the first project up by the airport, I'm just gonna ask the novice question, okay? I mean, when I started the conversation earlier today, we're talking about capacity, to the capacity in the line, or capacity at the main plant. And I'm assuming that there's virtually no impact from either one of these at the main plant relative to the excess capacity we have there, is that correct?
Correct. The main plant is like runs about 50%.
Okay, so that.
Now, weather goes higher, but those are very temporary, and we have storage basins for that.
Okay, so, okay, in the broadest sense, we're in good shape there, it's really just getting from A to B. Yeah, okay, got it.
From the parcel, the annexed area, I studied the downstream from that parcel, and we can assure we're 99.9% confident that all of the infrastructure downstream to where it enters the plant, there's sufficient capacity. Yeah. We can't do that. We can't put a sewer out here and not know that.
And I said,
we don't want to run into that situation again.
Do we have a list of, and I'll ask our folks, do we have a list of homes, businesses that are on septic within the city limits? That are on septic?
Not that I'm aware.
I would refer you to your GIS coordinator. He would have that information.
The only other area that I'm aware of right now that we don't have it is Risky Avenue north of Springland, going into Potawatomi Park.
Right,
okay.
Because there's 12 homes north of the sewer that just goes north that don't have service all the way to Friendship Gardens on the golf course side and the city side. And of course, people on the Potawatomi Park side might be interested in connecting or will too, so.
And they're gonna merge with the city, so it's.
And don't do that. Mike or Steve, do we, even out on Mirror Road, is that Mirror Road, or is it, where is Peters? 600?
Oh yeah, there is a factory or something out there too.
I'm just trying to find out, do we have a list anywhere that identifies locations within the city that are on septic?
The septics are regulated by the county, so we don't regulate septics here. I pretty much like Tim explained it though, it's not a common situation in Michigan City. There's these two areas that I'm aware of myself.
And can we contact the county and try to get that just based on, well, if they knew it was a Michigan City address? I mean, it's like LaPorte is the whole county, so it's hard to say what Michigan City address is and what city limit address is.
Well, they have GIS too, though. I would think they would be able to.
It would be an interesting query, but the GIS in both situations, we'd be able to.
I'll try to find out if we can get that from the
Okay, because
county.
there is another area I know of for sure, the old Lakeland area,
Right, some of the old areas are not in the county system,
that's city.
because they weren't licensed to begin with.
Yeah,
Bell Road.
yeah, it might be an interesting project, I mean, to.
Well, no, it's worth exploring, but the question will come down to whether they want to go through the expense of stuff, right? So, because that's typically the question in the county more often than not. If we run a new line down, does everybody have to hook up or not, and within what period of time? And
So, for
all that stuff, yeah.
clarity, if I might, for clarity on the we call it the Carroll Avenue sewer, our marching orders were to hook those folks up as part of the project.
Right. I think it's good for everybody.
They're so close, they're right there, yeah.
So we can ask Chris Johnson, the water department. Probably know.
Yeah.
So with that, if I may be dismissed.
Punch the clock there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
13 seconds.
2.407.
There you go.
Tell Ryan you just beat him with 13 seconds.
Okay. So we move on to new business.
Yeah.
New business?
I think I'll fall under the new business if you don't mind.
Yes.
I have a little informational thing for the newcomers, so you kind of understand the plant a little bit more. I think you understand it better than anybody.
Thank you.
To kind of give just a little insight to how that works and how we work. It's on both sides there. I also just want to touch base a little bit more on that scope of work that I handed you earlier and that the mayor addressed with Hitchcock. We have a horrendous problem, and I'll repeat horrendous for the last, I don't know how many years, I know 6 that I know of. With my past experience as a police officer, and my past position too, that continual rubbish, garbage, furniture, everything, tires that's dropped off at the Hitchcock property there. That used to be the old dump, and that's where everybody assumes they can just do it. So because we block the gates and take all these measures to protect it, they just put it outside, put it on the street, and you can see the pictures that go with it. I applaud any of the staff for coming up with this plan, but these camera system is not just a camera system. It's very similar to the flock system that we have now. Right, so we'll be able to read license plates, so it'll also assist the police in the littering process, and that is, the criminal offense of it too, of the illegal dumping. So it's gonna be a win-win. It's a complete internet system based. We don't have to worry about electricity out there, so that's a great thing with the cameras. We got Andy Skiat from his company, Marcus Electric, to donate the telephone pole, so a lot has gone into this $6,000 project, but it's going to be ARPA money that's going to fund it, so it's going to be a very valuable tool for our sanitation department and, of course, the police.
And we're using that, those solar powered cameras at our essential services, and they're pretty clear. I mean, shockingly.
So they're night vision too, I assume,
Yeah,
right?
you can see pretty good.
It does well.
You'll be shocked at some of the people who've been caught. We have.
Anybody running for office?
Be in office.
Really? Say no more.
Yeah.
So I want to also talk a couple more things. Again, my hats off to Mary Lynn and her staff that's trying to dig us out of a Lula's hole with Karen. And Karen is just, they're working day and night trying to get this resolved. So that's going to be the hiccup for a while until we can see where our funds are going to be at what position they will be at. We will bring in, I know we approved it a meeting ago with the Applegate coming in. We're putting them on hold right now until we can kind of get out of this hole a little bit further and see where we stand. We have the State Board of Accounts that's also going to come in and assist in this process. So slowly but surely, Senator and Senators has a man here that's on a weekly basis that's kind of helping us out too. So until that audit gets done, we'll kind of take it from there. We have some personnel changes that arose. I sent them to you via email, but I'm sorry, Don didn't have the correct email address. But Rachel McBride, as you know, who was appointed our secretary of this board, and will take care of all the board work from this point forward. Will also be an administrative staff here at the department. She's moved from City Hall over here, and she'll take care of all of our payroll, she'll take care of all our HR, and just about everything else that happens in this building. She's really got her hand involved in it, so I appreciate that. Rachel, that did work here, she's moved on to the refuge department, so she'll be doing their payroll. I'm sorry, excuse me. Destiny? She'll be doing payroll over there at refuge. So Mike has returned back into the plant as the water reclamation superintendent. And then Arbor, who was our engineer previously, has resigned his position. So we'll be looking at possibly filling that too. John has moved up the ladder. John has been doing fantastic work here. So again, just my first week and a half or so here, I've been really impressed by everybody I've talked with, from Josh to Tony Basil, to Jim Michaels, to Jordan Hines, everybody that's really put forward a good effort to welcome me and kind of teach me of how this goes, and of course, Mike and Steve. I'm also looking at condensing the mowing, along with the mayor. It was her idea, but we'd like to possibly take the mowing responsibility that the district has for all our lift stations, for all our properties that we have, because we have a bunch, including Strebo Pond and whatnot. So hopefully we can get that maybe handed off to the cities. They can do it themselves, and then we can kind of get our guys to do more mechanical work instead of mowing work. So that's a possibility. We're also looking at a watering truck with Chong and working with him and trying to get more of a system involved with there instead of using our blower truck that if we lose a pump on that, it's a $25,000 loss. So we're looking at doing that instead. We're then looking to a uniform policy and then more of the repairing of the boom mower so we can get all these ditches cleaned. That's been an issue, but I'm trying my best here, so we're going to try to get with everybody's help, move on forward. And if you have any questions, we'd be glad to entertain.
Thank you, Chris.
Sounds exciting.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's great too, coming from the board seat to where you are today, and to see how you've been able to connect and get to know those who you didn't know and ask questions and get some good feedback. I think that's all very positive. So congrats on your new role.
Thank you. Again, I'm sorry, I apologize too, but we did hire Chris Burke, and I did send that to you via email and also the information in your packet, but Chris Burke Engineering, the consultant group, I can spend up to $10,000, so I did sign that contract not to exceed $10,000, and they're here in the audience now, but they will assist us over a 3-day period for each week to try to get us reorganized throughout the plant. So that's going to be a big plus, and then there's going to be another amendment to that contract down the road, but for right now, there'll be 3 days a week per that contract.
So let me, so you have the actual contract, right?
Correct.
Correct.
So the one contract is the one that we've approved, you've approved for the 10,000.
Okay.
But you should have another packet with the full proposal.
I sent all that.
The full proposal?
It should be in your packet. Yes, right.
Saw that.
Yeah, okay,
That right
that's different.
Yeah, that's different, that's up to you. I just did the first initial 3 days.
Yours was the initial assessment.
Yeah.
Correct.
So this goes beyond, the second contract goes beyond the initial.
So let me kind of give my couple of things. So Chris Burke is here, and I know they're going to present the information. So one of the things that, so one of the things, just a little background for everybody, and no slight to the employees that are here, but with all the issues that we're starting to see, and all the growth and development that's happening in this city, I think it's important that, number one, we understand where we're at as a plant, but where we're going as a plant. And I feel like having a neutral party, someone come in to help us, number one, look at our equipment, our aging system, handle our MS4, and all those things are important to me to set priorities for my administration moving forward. And I think that with some of the resignations and also with some of the movement, I think it's worth its weight in gold for me. You hear some of the questions that you all have, I have the same questions. The previous board had some of the same questions. And I think it's important that we allow employees and our team here to continue to do the work they're doing, but have somebody from the outside come in and do that. So I know that they were here to kind of go over that information. Don, do you have copies of it though?
Not yet, it's on the way to me, so.
Can we make,
We have a, yeah, we
somebody
have
make copies?
an email address
Okay,
for
thank
Don.
you. Thank you.
Sure.
So I'll let them introduce themselves, Chris, if you.
Good.
Sure. Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Jenny Miller. I'm a engineer, project manager, director of the Lafayette office for Christopher Burke Engineering. And with me today is Al Wallace, which many of you already know, Michigan City person here, and Adam Downing. The mayor really asked us for 3 different tasks, and I think the first task, and probably the most important, is the MS4, because there are some deadlines arising with some modifications to the ordinance that have to be passed by July, and then some of the activities in MS4, assessing what's been done, what needs to be done, and being able to report back to you all what should be happening going forward. So I think that was the first priority, to take a look at that. The other is to take a look at the plant operations, the equipment, the staffing, the reports, the planned projects, and sort of give an independent outside look at that. Adam has some extensive experience in plant operations. I myself was the Public Works Director for the City of Lafayette for 15 years before coming to Burke, so I have a lot of knowledge about operating with utilities and prioritization and manpower and those types of things. So I think between the two of us, and then working with all the plant people, and thank you, Mike, for the tour. We got the NIPL tour right before the meeting today, and we appreciate that, and we will be back again and probably be asking for a lot of information, reports, and those types of things, just to get a good assessment. And then the third item is to actually have Al here on site with Chris and looking at the greater project list, the collection system, the lift stations, operations here, and those types of work. And just assist him moving forward and getting that outside eyes and working with the team here to figure out, what's the priority and what's the best things, and then be able to make recommendations to you all. One thing that I will say, we only bill in quarter-hour increments.
Thank you.
Every month, and this is a standard practice for every Christopher Burke job. Every month, the project manager gives you the full, we give you the full, if you want it, we give you the full timesheets, we give you the description of all the work that was done this month, we give you the action items, the work completed for the month, and then what we're anticipated to do for the next month, and where we are in the budget. So every month, we provide that information to you, so you will have in real time at every meeting, or at least at the beginning of the month, you will have reports of where we are in this process. This is hourly, not to exceed, and it's dictated by you all and the time that it takes for us to do this. So at any point, if Chris feels like he's on solid ground and no longer needs our services or Al, we're done. So I just want you all to know that. Thank you for the opportunity. So far we've met wonderful people, and it's been a really good day today. This was my first time here, Adam's first time, but appreciate it and look forward to working with you.
Thank you. And I'll add to that, so the GM position, I'm still working with the consultant with the city. So we will be filling that. Chris is in an administrative role, business manager role, but we are gonna hire a general manager, which may become the director of public works for the city. We're still vetting that out. I just want to make sure that, as the city, we cover all bases and we don't get in a situation like this again. So that our city engineer, the director of public works, the sanitary district, the water department, everybody's on the same page with projects that we have, initiatives, and that if there becomes a funding opportunity, because I'm always looking for them, that we already know what we want as our priority. Right now, we don't. So the actual general manager of the plant could be twofold. It could be the director of public works and the GM. I hope as we get more information from Chris Burke, if you approve this evening, that I'll set the timeline on making, posting that position. We've identified some trade magazines and some other places where we could probably post the position. But I think it's a position that's needed within the city with the assistance of the sanitary district. So more to come on that as we get through this process. That will help me determine next steps for the hiring of that. I didn't want to jump out there and just post the position not being ready. I want to make sure I understand our capacity, our priorities, and what they look like before I bring somebody in, like I threw the new board members into this. And there will be 2 additional board members. I'm waiting to hear back from one with his job and his position to make sure that's okay. Hopefully by the next board meeting, we'll have 2 additional board members. So, but that's kind of where I'm at and soliciting, some input from them on, and then looking at the resume, what they've been doing, and I'm not gonna tell you another engineering firm co-signed that you would be good. I want to do that on camera, But I think that this could be a good opportunity for us to really truly set some priorities, and some of our team shared with us how old some of the plant is, and I think this is an opportunity for us to come up with our own plan on how we do replacements and things like that, and how much money will be needed, because that's going to be important in how we plan into the future. So.
And I guess last but not least, I'd like to take an opportunity to, I'll be remiss not to thank Jim Meyer for his dedication to the sanitation of the city of Michigan City for numerous years.
We have to approve this yet.
They have to.
First, they have to vote on your.
Okay, I apologize.
There's a contract before.
I apologize, yes, go ahead.
All right, so the general total price was at the 198,000?
Not to exceed.
Okay, not to exceed.
I will say I have known Chris B. Burke Engineering Limited for a very long time. I've worked with them on several jobs in Illinois way back in the past. My wife had Chris Burke as a professor at Purdue for hydraulics. I did not have him, fortunately, so I managed to squeak through. She had to work for hers, so I appreciate that. Chris was a very good teacher and had a very good firm, so I appreciate Chris B. Burke Engineering Limited coming and helping us out. So with that being said, I would like to recommend approval of the on-call wastewater stormwater engineering services for Chris B. Burke.
I'll second it. Just want to have a little discussion afterwards, so sort of in the middle or whatever.
I think it was the time before.
Okay, just at the highest level, I don't know what an MS4 is, but.
It's not required.
Municipal separate storm sewer system, it's your stormwater program.
Okay.
You have to implement based on a permit that you have from IDEM.
Okay, so it's a
Stormwater
it's a
management.
plan on how we're gonna manage, and that we manage to the plan, and if we don't, then.
Education.
Well, there's all kinds
kinds
of
things.
regulations and whatnot.
Yeah, like the Trail Creek.
Yeah, the boat thing we implemented, and that's part of the education.
Right.
And I will say, I would like to see the MS4 program a little bit more, it's really a community facing, and however they need to use me in that is what I'm suggesting more, that we get families and children understanding the importance of our watershed and, just Lake Michigan and Trail Creek in general. I think is a good thing. I was just sharing that about the national park. We have families who've never been.
Yeah.
And I think MS4 could be a very impactful way of engaging, our residents in that process.
And just real quickly too, to expand a little bit on MS4, just as Mike in the plant operations, they operate under a NPDES, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, to discharge wastewater into the creek. Over the years, in the late 1990s, early 2000s, through EPA, they started a NPDES program for stormwater, for separate stormwater sewer. So as the mayor was talking about, it should be forward-facing to the public, educating about clean water, don't putting oil down storm drains. There's a regulatory component to that, where it's a 5-year permit cycle, there's annual commitments you have to do to it, annual reports. So from a regulatory point of view, it kind of mirrors your wastewater treatment plant system. So there's many things have to be done. So part of the priority that the mayor talked to us about is, because of the regulatory risk of trying to make sure we're in compliance with all those things, typically item will come in every 5 years, audit your MS4 program. So we just want to make sure the staff here is ready to check up all those boxes for the next audit coming up.
Well, that's great. I'm sure the public's interested. And in particular, I get the sidebar conversations. Well, is the water really that we're putting back in Trail Creek, is it per code, and is it safe to swim in Lake Michigan, and are the days of high E. coli, is that from the plant, or is it from the seagulls, or all that kind of stuff. I think you'll have a lot of interest in this. But also, I'd be interested, and maybe it was part of our discussion last time, a little bit on, I don't know if this is within the scope of this, the quality of our plant and the system, and a priority relative to these components that got this much life left, and we got to plan for a big chunk of money, to your point, Mayor, at some point down the road, that this is going to be something.
If I may just make a quick comment about the MS4, specifically the mayor's point about engaging the community. One thing that the district has done with board, of course, and administrations is to participate in bringing the research vessel, W.G. Jackson, as part of our outreach program, having anyone in the community come on board for a free ride out into the lake where the research scientists that are on board educate those that are in attendance and even have some rudimentary types of analysis that they do and actually see the lake water and clarity and so forth. The disappointing news that this year we were poised to again bring the vessel here, but we're informed by the university that sponsors or that brings us the Jackson, that due to staffing shortage, they had to cancel the vessel coming out this year in August. So we'll have to look to next year for that.
Yeah, so you may have an opportunity that, I don't know how public this is or not, but P&W just acquired a boat and they're trying to get it fit for doing education on the lake, and I think it would fit very well with this, and I'm sure once they get it, I'm not sure they'll make it by this summer, but certainly that is high on the list of things to do, and I think we'd love to participate with the city
That would be great.
in terms of educating young people about the importance of clean water and how it stays clean and what's actually in it or not. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, so
All right.
you need to make a motion?
No, it's already been made, you just had to call for the vote.
Okay, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We have that.
Welcome aboard.
Yes, welcome aboard. Okay, so,
It's more of a welcome back.
yeah, really, especially
For Al.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so if there's no further business, we'll call for an adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passed. And our next regular board meeting will be June 26th, 4 p.m. here in the conference room. Thank you all.